And hello and welcome back to our podcast La Vida en Tres. Today we have a very special guest. It is my very good friend Maya Rodriguez. Yay! Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have you here. I'm going to let Maya talk all about who she is. But this is a very, very, very special episode because Maya has a beautiful life story that she actually wrote a book. And I had the privilege of reading it. And today we want to share with everybody her life story. So Maya, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. Super excited to be here.
Our pleasure.
My goodness, my life. I always tell my family, it's like I feel like I've lived like literally different like lives, but they're completely different. So like there's many things. So I'm born and raised in Bosnia. Do you guys know what that is by any chance? So just to kind of give everybody an idea, because most people don't know.
Illinois?
No, it's actually in Europe. So in Europe, and you know how the Italy has the boot? You know how you always think of Italy, and Italy has that little boot, right? Like when you think of Italy and Rome.
I just think of the colors.
Okay. Next time you look at Italy,
You're gonna
think of this.
You're gonna go straight
there.
You're
gonna remember. So right above the boot, that's my country. So we literally share the sea. So it's a country that's been, I'm sure you guys hear there's a bunch of wars always going on in like Middle East and all that area. So I'm kind of there. I was, in that area. So born and raised there, and I, all of a sudden, just to give you guys an idea, everything shuts down. There's no school, there's no food, there's no water, there's no electricity, and it's not a hurricane, and it's not anything else. It's actually a war. And like you cannot go out, you don't know what's going on. Like,
how old were you?
I was 10.
Wow.
So
no school at 10.
So, but no, that's what I thought. But then you're like, oh my God. So you're hearing grenades falling down all around you, like houses burning.
Then how did
so that's why I wrote the book about. So literally being in a war, it was like really crazy, guys. It was a detrimental experience, but also, obviously God had a plan to go through it, but everything started shutting down. Everything, we couldn't do anything. Literally, we were sitting, and we were in the war for about a year and a half. Think about sitting in a basement of your home with candles, a few sips of water, a day maybe, and like.
Notice how she's just smiling while saying it.
Yeah. It took a lot of healing.
Okay,
took a lot of healing.
I'm gonna say in parentheses why he's saying that, because I don't want him to think, I don't want people to think like why he's saying that.
Yes.
Because when we were speaking about our guest today, I told them that you are one of the most beautiful souls that I have ever met.
Thank you.
Besides everything that you've been through in your life, you still manage to be a person of light. So that's why he's saying that.
Just so sweet. I love it. I love that you're inserting.
I had to put it out there.
Thank you so much. So yeah, it's a lot of, and this is, guys, like, thank you for pointing that out. And I think if I can encourage anything with your listeners and you guys being the light, things are going to happen. Life is going to happen. And, but, always know that you have God, and know that you can take and kind of like wiggle yourself out of that pain. You don't have to be in it. You can look at it from a different perspective, and it doesn't have to drown you, So, and all of you, everybody's capable of doing it. It's just, putting that faith, having that time, and putting that smile, and that things are going to work out, having that hope. So the war was tough. I wrote a book. It's called Grenades as Lullabies. So this is a fun fact for you guys, and this might be cool. You guys know what grenades are? They're like big. I'm sorry so the grenades that fall down. Well, the grenades, because I was in the war, and that was like, you listen to that, like, boom, like this whole, like, you
something out of a movie.
Really. So you're literally listening to that. So it was kind of like a paradox, like something you're like, wow, okay. But ended up happening that once I got out of the war, it took me a couple of years to like get used to the silence. Like those grenades, that like sound of destruction became like a lullaby. Like that was the thing that soothed me, you know? And that kind of tells you like how crazy it is that we just sometimes get used to things, something so crazy, right? That grenade can destroy, like, you know, like right now, if the grenade fallen down, it would destroy like blocks and blocks here, gone, like zero, right? And those things, like the noise of those things became my lullaby. Like I was like, I needed to hear them. So it was really weird. So that was the title of my book, Grenades as Lullabies, yeah?
You're saying that you heard that, and you just said that it could destroy blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying that you heard houses around you like catching on fire.
Yep.
Your house was just in the middle of all of it?
My house was in the middle, and then eventually it did catch on fire. We had to escape.
Oh my goodness.
We had to escape, and we had to, I'm telling you, a lot of God's grace that was happening to protect us, to get out there, because it was impossible. Like you said, we were in the middle of it. It was really hard to contemplate, like, how can we get out of here, right? Because it looks pretty dead end. So the house did catch on fire, and we had to get out, and we were kind of moving as things were crashing. And so, like, my book talks about all those details. I know your mom read it. Maybe she can share it with you. Maybe
I told them
you guys can.
I told them that we're going to
too.
read it together. Yeah.
I think it's an easy read. It's really cool. It comes from a perspective, you know, you guys age, like, and it talks about like a lot of emotions and things like that, and like details. I think it will make a good movie. I really think so, right? A lot of action there.
As you're talking, it's funny because she's talking and she's telling me, and I have these vivid images in my head because I read the book. So
cool.
I remember little pieces of everything you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, looking for food, wondering who was coming through that door. It's a lot of detail in that
How
book.
big was your family? Was it a small family and easy to escape, or was it like this big family, like the grandparents, your siblings if you have, and your parents?
Great question. So my family, from my mom's side, is pretty big, and from my dad's side, not so big, but we have, I have my uncles and my cousins. I'm an only child, so I don't have siblings. But particularly where we were at, it was just me, my mom, and my dad. But what we did, we had a lot of neighbors that ended up becoming family because we were all trying to survive together. So our family was in different parts of the city. It's like, it would be kind of like, let's say this part of the city is completely shut down and you can't make it back home or back to your school in Doral. Like, it's shut off. There's no way. There's like, you can't do it. So we lost a lot of contact with what our family was. So at that moment, it was my mom, my dad, and me as a family. So that's another thing. We kind of got cut off from all our other family too, and we didn't know what was happening to them. Were they, surviving? Are they going through the same thing? TVs are shut off, all kinds of things. So it was really
No communication.
No communication.
What about newspapers?
Nothing. My love, everything was shut down. When I tell you shut down, sometimes I don't know if maybe they did live through a hurricane or not, but something, or if you read about it, it's just everything shuts down. There's nothing. Groceries are closed. There's no electricity. There's no water. It's sometimes hard to believe.
But who was the war against?
So that's a great question. It's a lot of history there. So that region is really has a lot of history of different empires working through it. So it was mostly a religious war. Does that make sense? So let's say the Muslims wanted the land because throughout the thousands of years of history, they had their pockets there. And then the Christians also thought, well, that's our land. Like, we also lived thousands of years in those areas, right? And then they had Jews also be like, well, we got persecuted, so we want that part of the land. So it just became a lot of religious war, everybody fighting and wanting to get that land after our leader at that time died. And so the succession, political stuff started happening, and everybody wanted a piece of the pie. And everybody was fighting for it because everybody was mixed. So, to explain it to you better, it's kind of like if everybody here, imagine if all of a sudden somebody comes by and be like, well, let's separate, you know, the Cubans from Puerto Ricans, from you know, Nicaraguans, and there's families, they're married with each other. So we're you know, how are you gonna go? Like, and where are you gonna go if you have your mom is, you know, from one country and your dad is from one country? Which way? Like, they wanted you to separate it. That, can you imagine the craziness? So it was chaos, because literally they required separation according to the religion, and the place was so mixed, like it's here. So that was another thing that it was almost impossible, and just led to more fighting, unfortunately. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question? Yeah.
Where are your parents right now?
They're actually here. They're in. They live in Hollywood.
That's cool. I want to go to LA.
Yeah.
No,
they live in
not Hollywood.
Florida.
Hollywood, Florida. Fort
They
Lauderdale.
live in Hollywood, Florida. Here. They live right next to. Actually, they live right next to the big guitar. Like that big guitar.
Oh,
Literally,
that's-
like you can look at the guitar from their house. So they live there. So it's
Fort
good.
Lauderdale.
By the way, LA is really fun. Been there. Super
I wanna
cool.
go. That's my initials.
Wait, so is Bosnian like abandoned now?
No, it's actually been rebuilt. People kind of, you know, like the war has, you know, it's been about 30 years that the war stopped. The war lasted like 6 years, 7 years. Can you imagine? 7 years of that.
Yikes.
Yeah. Lots of people, you know, passed, and a lot of casualties. It was the biggest Civil War casualty still to this day. I'm sure you guys are going to learn. I think they do teach people in schools, students.
I'm sure that if they don't, they'll ask now.
They'll ask now about it. So no, it's not. It's just been rebuilt. They're more, you know, people have invested, different investors from here, from America, and just it's been rebuilt. People that stayed and survived, you know, survived. They got help. So it's still thriving. It's actually beautiful. We went to visit my daughter, and we took. So it's a beautiful place. It's still good. Obviously, very different than before, because everything's kind of new and different. A lot of people are gone. But yes, it's a very beautiful place to visit still, if you're.
So we'll put that on our bucket list.
After that, did you like reunite with your neighbors? Like all of you guys, did you guys just escape together?
That's an excellent question. We couldn't escape together. We lost some neighbors right then and there, in different things, snipers, you know, things like that happened. And then once we escaped, we couldn't, because everybody was kind of scattered to, you know, escape as best as they could. And no, till this day, we had not been able to connect, like on Facebook or anywhere else. So I don't know. I hope they're alive, but I'm not sure if they are. We have connected with some other people that have escaped from different parts of.
Like people from your school?
I have not connected with anybody from my school.
Well, you don't know. Maybe La
I don't
Andres
know.
will be a gateway.
Yes.
Maybe someone's child is going to hear
Yeah,
this.
you know.
Mom, come here.
Exactly. So we hope, you know, so you know, we connected with some people, but nobody from that group that we were kind of, you know, escaping from or during the war with.
Okay, so you leave. You managed to escape, thank God. And where do you go?
So we escape, and at that point I have to leave my dad behind. Men were not allowed to leave. So at that point, you know, to me it was like it was kind of like grieving my dad, because we didn't know, like if my dad, men were not allowed. The only reason why we were able to escape, because of the grace of God and, you know, some of the connections that we had. And so my mom and I escaped into a different part of the country where, you know, it wasn't so much fighting, but we're trying to escape to go obviously out of the country. We left our dad, you know, my dad behind, not knowing even how to communicate with him. So, or if he was going to be, you know, killed or, you know, captured. So he ended up being captured. We were in the outside area, different state of our country. And it was difficult because of the religious difference of, you know, like they were looking at us like, who are you? So we have to lie about our names and stuff like that. It was like to escape. It was tough. And after about a year, we somehow, again, grace of God, and just I look back, everything has been just an incredible grace of God, that we reunite with my dad, because my dad actually ended up being injured. He one of the grenade shrapnels, like when the grenade exploded, got into his leg, completely injured him. So he was actually placed in a hospital and was transported out. And again, by connections and this and that, we end up reuniting with my dad. He still has a shrapnel in his leg, and his leg is operating just fine with it.
Wow.
Literally, there's a huge
To this
shrapnel.
day?
To this day,
That's
they don't
crazy.
want to. They didn't want to take it out because it's right next to a lot of arteries and things like that. And they were like, leave it. If it does, then we go in there. If we go in there, we might be. And he's been 30 years with no problem with the shrapnel in the leg. So he literally has a big, like, you know, when he does the X-rays, you see like a ginormous thing in his leg, and it's growing around it.
Oh,
And
so you can't see it?
you can't see it. It's inside. He went really deep inside, and he thought that he's gonna have to take off his leg because I think it was in his thigh.
Amputated?
So amputated leg, but he didn't. Because what happened also, they used to, in the war, as you know, it's very dirty. They used to put poison on those grenades. So if anybody gets hit and they don't die by the hit,
They'll die by the
they'll
poison.
die by the poison. So,
Wow, that's
no. It's the
That's
I can
terrible.
go into evilness.
never heard that.
Yes, it's they.
Wow.
Yeah. It was very evil, very evil,
So
very
like
evil.
since the religions were against each other, it
Mhm.
was like the thing that happened with Adolf.
The-
The what?
Oh, Hitler.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, it was as evil as that. People just out for each other to kill each other, literally, and they couldn't understand, like, you know, brothers were turning against brothers, and you know, if they were from different, you know, if I had a different mom and different dad religiously,
Emma, square up.
so yeah, it's you know, the war was real, and then just, you know, and this is, guys, like what, you know, I know your mom, how incredible of a person she is. You know, hatred breeds hatred. So like that's why love, she teaches, you know, always breed love. Love breeds love, because that's the only way we can overcome that, right? Because when people are caught up in that, it's a chaos, really.
I always try to tell them that, you know, I know they're siblings. I know they're gonna fight. You know, they're gonna have to squirrel.
course.
You know, they have little things here and there.
Normal, yeah.
But when they get really into it, they can tell you that I can't stress to them how important it is
Yes.
to protect each other, to
Yes.
respect each other, because nobody on this earth is going to protect you like a sibling is or like a parent is.
100%.
You know, so
100%.
it is, especially in this world right now where everybody's fighting over the
About everything.
simplest things,
That's
about,
terrible, yeah.
excuse my French, dumbest things.
Yes.
And it's
Correct.
just, it's very important. It is very important.
So always go back to, you know, like love and compassion, because that's how everything shifts.
We have to think like friends, like the show Friends.
Just think of compassion. You're so sweet. You're so funny. You're funny.
If
You're
he
funny.
contributes, then I'll contribute. Because you see, I'm the nicest person ever. He's not.
She's the cheapest person ever.
Okay, you see, this is not what I was talking about. That's not what I
Not
meant.
an example.
No, not at all. So Maya, where do you go from there? So you find your dad.
So find my dad, and then finally we're kind of left at the mercy of like being refugees. Like, where do we go? Like, where would the world and, like, you know, the humanitarian organizations to help us? So they, my mom sent letters everywhere, like, get us out of here. We don't belong here. We're gonna get killed. To, you know, World Service, Church World Services, all these humanitarian, Red Cross. I'm sure you heard about all these humanitarian, and United States came back with, through Church World Service, they were gonna send us to North Dakota. And we're like, where's that? We have no idea. Okay, but we're going because we gotta go. There's nowhere to stay here. So North Dakota, which is like, you know, like
It's not that
like
bad.
snow up to here, like all year round. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
I know, but like I've heard about it. It's pretty cool.
I want you to look it up after this, so you can see how it's like Alaska.
It's
like,
a lot of snow.
It's a lot of snow. It's cold all the time. Anyway, so switched it, and they take us. A family accepted us, and to help us on our feet. In Richmond, Virginia, here in United States, in Virginia.
That's right by where we used to live, by Ohio.
Yeah. So that's kind of like when our refugee life started. Mind you, I didn't know any English. First, I'm sorry, that's a lie. I didn't go to Richmond first. I went to Spain. My bad. You were like, where are you going? No. We ended up going. I'm sorry. Church World Service helped us to go into Spain. So we went to Spain and lived for about a year and a half in Spain, in Barcelona, by Barcelona. There's a place.
Is this
called
where you
Tarragona.
learned Spanish?
This is where I learned Spanish.
Okay.
So then I didn't know any Spanish, guys. Not even like hola. You know, like and now I speak it like a Cuban.
What do you, I'm sorry to interrupt you. What language did you speak in Bosnia?
So the language that we speak, it's kind of like Russian. It's Serbo-Croatian. So it's nothing to
Serbo-bueno?
do. It's nothing to do with the Latin language. So it's very like a Russian, like Slavic. So
Do you still remember it?
of course I speak it with my parents.
Can you,
Still.
How do you?
Yeah.
can you speak it?
Yeah,
Of course.
Say hola.
Kako se zoveš, šta ima?
What does that mean?
German.
His face.
It sounds like German.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
I was like, what's your name? How are you?
He's like,
So imagine like it's totally different than Spanish. So I come to Spain and they were like, okay, here, go to school and figure it out. And I'm like,
huh?
Where'd I go? What did I do?
like sign language. Imagine you going to school now in German. Can you imagine being thrown right now in Germany and you're like,
Nope.
zero, nothing. And you're thrown in there, you don't have a choice. Like it's hard. It's not like your parents
So an
made
exchange
you
student.
go. You're like, you don't have a choice. You have to survive. So you're like, blah 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 blah. Like you're like hungry. Like until you try to figure out. So I learned Spanish and Catalan actually because that's in
Ni hao.
No,
It's-
that's the Mandarin?
Japanese. No,
Mandarin.
That's
Isn't that
Mandarin, Japanese or something.
Yeah.
Right? So we lived there as literally refugees. We were kind of in a camp area. We were going to school, people trying to work. They didn't know what to do with us. They were like, okay, here refugees kind of being it's kind of camp place. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When when did you become pregnant? Like after all of
Okay, we're not. You're skipping a lot of steps
Yes,
here.
I'll get there. Promise I'll get there.
She's
when
still a child going to school. Like, relax.
That's okay. He wants to go be like, hey,
Oh my
how does she
God.
come along? I get it. How does my daughter? My daughter's here for the listeners. So we went. So from there, from Spain, refugee life was very, very, very tough because you don't belong. You don't know the language. You're trying to fit in. It's really hard. So then, from being one refugee in Spain, then we go to United States where we're supposed to go to Dakota. So then, same thing happened. I'm like, okay, throw me in school.
Another language I don't know.
There's no language.
And Virginia, where there's no Spanish.
And we're like, yeah, we're like, okay, hello, I like cat. That was like, the extent of like, so that was hard. And it was really hard watching my parents because, they were already, older.
It's not the same
It's
as
not
when
the
you're a
same.
kid.
You're not
Yeah,
young
of
and like you
course.
want to, figure it out. They were just, emotionally, talking about PTSD. All of us were just PTSD'd.
I don't know why, but I keep thinking about Mexico. Like if you guys just like went in Mexico.
Because you're thinking about them going through leaving
through a place, right?
Yeah.
I definitely, you guys, when you can, search some of these things up so you can so you
when-
can have an idea,
You know we will.
for
This
sure.
might be the funnest podcast of them all.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm glad. There's a
No
lot.
offense.
And
no
my
offense.
the book, if you guys read it, you're gonna. I know your mom liked it. And it's just an action-filled book, and you're like, oh my god.
How much pages?
People,
It's
there
not
was
that- it's not that- it's not that
and it's
big.
like big type, and it's super easy to read. Like
It-
I
it
wanted to
is.
make sure that
I thought you were gonna say more than 800.
Oh no.
No, it's a really easy book to read.
Easy book to
And
read.
it's hard to put down though, because you're like, what
literally-
happens next?
You know what people told me? Many people are like, oh my God, I had to read it. It was 3 o'clock in the morning to make sure you were alive.
You should make
And
a
they were
movie.
like, I'm here. That's why I wrote it. So they were like, I needed to make sure you were alive.
Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
you
"Wow."
forget it
But
because
you
when
forget.
you dive into
Yes.
a book, the whole purpose of a
Yes.
book is imagination, right?
Yeah.
So you dive in there and you forget that you're in the
That
real
you're
world
literally-
and that you know
you know the
Maya,
person, yeah.
and then she's well and alive, and you forget about it, and you're like, wait, what? I remember putting it down. I'm just like, oh my god, I can't, but I can't,
You
but I gotta go back.
Seriously, make a movie about.
I would
that.
love to.
She should.
I
I
would
remember
love to.
me and my
Love
mom.
to make
She
a
should.
We watched just the two of us. We watched the movie of the 9/11 of what happens on the cops,
Yeah,
the
that's
security
yeah.
guards.
I was actually there too, not just the two of you. I was there.
I love you
It
guys
was,
are
it was bonding
hilarious.
time. It was like from a book, right?
Well, that was real life.
That was
No,
just
I know
like
that.
her.
I know that much.
No, it was
That-
from
that-
the
that was-
events. It was from the events as well. But
That's
her
cool.
book can actually
I would
become
love
a
to.
movie.
I mean, I don't know how to go about,
You know, I could
Getting
be
it
one
to
of
somebody to
I could be
produce
one
it?
of the neighbors. You know.
You know what? We're gonna
Maybe
do that
somebody-
homework for you. Right?
mean-
we'll get on it.
I think it will be a great, I think there's a few movies that were produced, about the Bosnian War. I believe, my goodness, what's her, Angelina Jolie did a movie. There's a few movies, but I feel like like my book is so filled with action.
It has
It's
a lot of
full-
detail.
It has a lot of details. It has
That
a
you
lot
could
of
hire me for it, you know.
fantastic.
I can do
If you
that
can
too,
get
you know?
it, if you can get it on a big screen, perfect. No, I would love to do it. So from there, my guys, then I came here and I kind of just went to school again, refugee again, try to fit in again. You
Oh
know,
my
everybody's like, you know, looking at you like an alien, like, you know, like really like you're an alien. You're like,
I
you
can
know,
imagine that, especially in Virginia.
and of course I did not fit in, like in general, like, you know, I always look, you know, different, and people are like, well, like, where are you from? Like, where are you from? Where's your accent?
What's
right?
your
And I'm
favorite
like,
food?
let me tell you, it's a compilation of like, you know,
A lot of things.
of so many things. So trying to fit in, and like, as you know, and then of course, look, you guys are, you know, kind of going through age. You're going, you know, you're 13, right? 14? You're
I'm
14?
13.
Yeah, okay. So it's hard to just alone to go through that age, you know, through just a normal life. Imagine a lot of changes and trying to like fit into the language, and you don't even know where you're at. So it's tough. And then watching my parents suffer, like I feel like I put it a lot into helping them also, like, you know, with working and helping them translate and helping them, you know, kind of get along, because they half of the times were like trying to figure out, you know, what's happening, what are the laws of things, of just living normal life, you know. So guys, definitely appreciate your mom and your dad, like what they do. It's a lot, you know, like these logistical things when you grow up and you go, oh my
We were
god,
in
this is a
there.
lot.
We were
Adulting is hard,
9 months.
you know.
9 months.
So, and she, you know, she's doing a lot. So just always appreciate it, because it's a lot, you know.
Yes.
It's a lot that especially when, you know, you're doing it on your own and stuff. So
She betrayed me. Give me a hand.
One for each.
one for each. Anyway, so that's kind of. Aw.
What third child?
The one that's gonna come.
Oh, good
Oh,
lord.
good lord.
Okay, continue.
So yeah, so that's. I'm trying to get to the point where I get pregnant, so I can answer your question. So, I mean, there's a lot.
Come, pay attention.
So what happened is that I went to University of Virginia, up there in Virginia. It's a great school, got scholarship, everything was great. Grace of God, right? Played tennis a lot. That was my sport up there. And then I decided, I went to a spring break 1 year from college, and I came to Miami. Where do you go? Miami, right? Especially when you're up north, you're like, I want a tropical
I want the
place.
sun. I
You
want
want
the
the
beach.
sun.
I
the
want
beach.
a dog.
And
Attention.
And I literally came and I was like, oh, this is where I'm going to live. I'm going to move here.
You manifested.
It was like, bam, like I knew it. I'm like, this is the place, because, you know, in Europe, there's a lot of life, you know, there's always things going on. So living in Richmond, Virginia was, you know, a little rough. But so I decided I'm going to do this. So after I graduated college, I decided to move down there. I had a boyfriend at the time that I met, and he actually ended up going to University of Miami. We didn't last. My boyfriend and I did not last. But this is where I met my daughter's father.
I wasn't laughing at that. I was laughing at her.
You mentioned the word boyfriend, and this one gets all giggly.
Like all giggly. So I met my daughter's father, and we married, we fall in love, and we kind of like, you know, we met in the same company.
But here in Miami?
Working here in Miami, yeah.
Take notes.
And
I cannot.
it's so
I'm
funny.
sorry.
Beautiful. They're giving you, you know, they're giving you a little
Permission?
You got my permission. You have my blessing.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, sir.
Thank you. She's so funny.
It's yes, sir, to you.
Okay, so
And that's, so, you know, we got together, and my husband, you know, when we became, he was actually divorced, and he had 2 other kids. So I inherited kids right away. They became my kids. They were beautiful. Their name is Kyle and Kristen. And they're older now. They're super older, but, you know, I was there when they were little, and it was beautiful. Everything was great. And then, of course, I got pregnant. And Leila came along. And so that's to answer your question. And then life just continued. Do you want me to keep going with
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then maybe the testimony going? Okay.
of course.
So
You know.
So now we have, 3 kids, and the kids are older. So now we're gonna, now we're raising Layla, and so everything was good. A lot, ups and downs like normal. Dealing with a lot of, how you tell me like, wow, you still smile through it. Takes a lot of healing and a lot of times to process some of these emotions and through all these things that you go through.
So this is the part where I was going to tell you. I meet Maya because I used to work at a doctor's office, remember? So through a very close friend of hers that worked there, she came in, I met her, and literally she walks in, and it's like an moment. And I'm like,
so sweet.
I look at her, but then her friend, which was at the time one of my bosses, was like, oh my gosh, when so-and-so comes in, let me know. And I was like, how am I going to know when so-and-so comes in? She's like, you'll know. That's all she said.
Oh my God.
So she walks in and I'm like, oh, so that's what she meant.
Oh, you're so sweet. I can't thank
The
you.
sweetest person on the planet. Hi, sweetheart, how are you? And I'm just like, oh my God, the vibe.
Oh, you're so sweet.
No, but it's true.
I just
You get
I
that
have
a
this overwhelming love. Look, my daughter's laughing.
You get that a lot.
I go around and I just love on everybody, and
She's just like spreading joy.
Somebody told me like you go around and spreading pixie dust.
Yes, that's
for you. I
exactly
love
what
you, and
you
I'm gonna give
do.
you a hug, and I'm gonna love you, and I'm gonna
and
literally
one
like,
for you, and one for you.
And people, sometimes people are like, I get mad at you that you're so bubbly all the time.
Copy paste.
Yeah, so
beautiful.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So a lot of healing, that happens through the times, and then so I really, because I went through a lot of stuff, I was always an entrepreneur. I had
that's what you graduated for.
Yeah,
That's
so
what you studied, your major.
well, it was actually it was politics, it was psychology. I also have a lot of like different certificates and coachings and psychology work and business. So one thing I'll tell you that right away I knew from the beginning that I couldn't be like in an office setting and just sitting down and just like typing away. Like I couldn't be an accountant or something like that. I had to be out there with people and not, make my own, free spirit for sure, make my own schedule. So
What?
He's really funny today.
I love it. I love it that your funniness. So to me, like kind of like making my own schedule. So I had my own printing company, real estate stuff that we were, my husband and I were building. And then
Real estate.
Listen.
And then also I really started opening with my healing business, which is Maya's Healing Space. And this is a beautiful story because I always used a lot of, psychology, and I wanted to find a way to help people, but also in a spiritual aspect, because I think it was something that, remember, nothing was really clear to me because there were so many the religions that just so you know, my mom was Muslim, raised Muslim. My dad was Christian. Nobody really, I kind of knew the whole Quran. I kind of knew the Bible. Then I had, Jewish friends. And then we all celebrated Christmas and Ramadan and this. We're like, well, which one's real? Nobody talked about, Jesus. Nobody really talked about, everybody's like, oh, like it was kind of like everything is cool. Everybody's cool. But nobody really taught me,
Nobody cared.
the essence. It's just how we...
Not in a rude way. Like nobody cared.
Enough to explain to her.
Correct, to explain.
No, not that. Like nobody cared that. Like if you're a different religion, like you're still my best friend. Nobody cared.
Oh, okay.
Right,
that's it.
Yeah, of course. You want to love people, yeah. So what happened is that I just wanted to... Sorry, my love. So I wanted to just kind of get people closer to, to what I felt through my through my journey. And so a lot of different, things and practices and healing things that I wanted to kind of reach. And it was beautiful because I was learning about all these things, but it was never 100% enough until God. So what happened is that another thing happened.
You met me.
I met you guys. You're yes, fantastic. Well, before that, it's so sweet. Before that, we had COVID hit, as you guys know. COVID happened, right, for everybody, and it was really bad. But it was really bad for us because my husband and I got sick, and then my husband passed away. Not her dad. So I get emotional about it every time I say it, but so.
Was she alive?
You good? She what?
Was
Yeah.
she alive or?
Yes.
mean?
Mhm.
Oh,
She
I thought you were
was.
still pregnant.
COVID was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was
COVID. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when her
So
dad,
he
her
passed
husband, died.
about 2.5 years ago. Yeah. So he's right. Yeah. Yeah. She was about 12. Yeah. 2.5 years.
Wait, I'm gonna guess 16, 18.
Yeah. So I know she's like, she has this beautiful
She's
grand
taller than
European.
you.
She is taller than me. Yes. And I'm a tall girl. So, so through that tragedy, because, you know, he was my love of my life, my soulmate, father of my children. It was a tough, and you know, I'm not gonna focus too much on it, but just there's a reason why I want to tell you. So he was in the hospital for about 9 months, and he was intubated. It was the roughest time of my life, more than any other, you know, the rough thing. But during that time, as he was intubated, all the doctors were like, look, he's just gone. Like, there's no lungs. He doesn't have any lungs. Like the COVID and the pneumonia has kind of eaten the lungs. So think where I come from, right? I'm telling all these religions, right? So one day I'm trying to do all these, you know, just trying to do everything I can as far as fighting with the doctors and helping, right, and fighting for him, but also spiritually trying to reach to God and be like, help me out, like I can't, like I'm drowning. So one day in the hospital, I go into a little chapel. And I remember, I don't, you know, kind of know, but not really. You know, I wasn't a believer in a sense that I would go to a chapel, a Christian chapel, right? But it was there. And I went in and I said, God, I don't know what to say. I mean, I can say Our Father prayer, you know, but I just told him, I'm like, you know what's in my heart. I remember saying those 2 words as I'm sobbing. And I go out that day because the visiting hours are over. He's still intubated, my husband.
Like coma?
Yes. So he has that machine, you know, in the movies you see it. There's a machine there, and there is breathing for you. And so and he's unconscious, so he's not awake. So the machine is breathing for him, keeping him alive. But we don't, you know, there's no really much progress. There's, you know, it's tough. Like, it was like, okay, what, you know, what's going on? So, and the doctors are like, you know, kind of start preparing yourself type of a deal, you know? So that night, I go to sleep and I get transported somewhere. And transported, when I mean, it's like something unlike
Another
any...
school.
No, transported in my dream.
Like she was dreaming.
I was sleeping. So imagine like you're dreaming, but you're not really dreaming. Like you're kind of conscious.
Lucid dream?
Kind of like that, but something very different. Very, very different. And I get, and in front of me I see the most beautiful, most majestic, most golden, most grand, inconceivable, indescribable.
It's me.
It's unbelievable. Like when I tell you, like when you, and I hope like one day when you see something like that, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I remember what Maya was saying. In front of me, it was the angel of the Lord. It was Jesus. And Jesus was the last person that I would summon, right? It would be like, okay, you know, Buddha, Allah, angels, you know, the cross, maybe some entity, maybe, you know, like Jesus wasn't in forefront of my mind, right? Remember, I wasn't really taught about it. Remember, I was telling you about it. Mm-hmm. And I experienced something that I've never experienced in my life. I started sobbing, crying. And I said literally to him, I'm like, and I saw him from the side, golden, he was incredible. And he said, and I told him, I'm like, Jesus, is that you? Literally, this is me talking. Like when I tell you I can remember. And I started sobbing, and like there's like something happens in my body. I can't even explain to you. It was just this overwhelming peace, overwhelming love, like I was just lifted. And I heard him say it very loudly. I saw him. He says, shush, child. You always believed. It doesn't matter what you called me. And I like just lost it. Like, and then I started repenting, which I didn't know repenting was until they told me later. That's what I was doing, right? When I was telling people, I was like, I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry for not believing. I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry. I'm like, this is me. Like, imagine like I sound like a crazy person, right? When I'm like sitting there doing this and I'm like, I'm sorry, Jesus. I'm sorry for everything. And I'm just like, you know, like having this conversation with him, and he's just, you know, like just cleaning my heart. And then he goes, and then I asked him, like, Lord, please, like, can you help me with my husband? Is he going to be alive? Like, can you help him, you know, heal? And he tells me, he goes, you will have him back, but just for a time, because there is a bigger picture. And I felt that. I felt it like that was a promise of the Lord. And then I started talking to her, like, thank you so much. What is it? What can I do? Tell me what I need to do next. What can I do for you? What can I do this? And he just turns again and goes, you and your family are blessed. And I get transported, lucid dream, whatever. And
Were there people
it was
around you?
no, it was just me. My daughter was there. And I'm thinking, okay, I went crazy. I hallucinated. You start thinking regular things. I'm in psychology. I'm like, this is.
Did I have a fever?
I was what just happened? Like, because this is first of all, like, it's so many, unbelievable. So I went through a period of time, but let me go first, like what's happening. But I could probably deny what I saw, imagine, but I couldn't deny how I felt. I felt like something shifted in me, like I was reborn. And mind you, and I'm telling you this, I used to make fun of people. I'm like, oh my God, reborn from what? Like, Jesus saved you from what? Like, literally, it was, I couldn't understand because I was relying so much on scientific thought. Like, okay, so you psychologically had a shift, It was like chains were broken, and I felt what people describe, and
Free
I
out
know
of
now,
prison?
it's freedom. It was like I was freed from some chains, from pain, I felt the Holy Spirit coming in, and it was the most beautiful, peaceful, incredible feeling that and you guys are young, but you can probably, the more you go through your life, you can understand, and you will understand. So I know your mom is, showing you the way, but like, I felt like I was completely changed as a person. My pain was gone. Some of the stuff that I carried with the war still, the pain of losing my husband, my best friend, of my whole life being upside down.
Neighbors.
And so I denied it for a little bit, but I was very curious. So I started researching about it. I started talking to people, and of course I found out, that's a common thing, that when you feel the Lord, and how blessed I was that I was able to see him, that he chose to talk to me. And so ever since then, I've completely changed my life. I understood. I developed this beautiful relationship with God that I didn't even know, the things that I was searching for all my life. And it's the most incredible thing when you do have a relationship with God, with Jesus, when you understand his word, and how incredibly everything I was searching for psychologically, like cool ways, like understanding the battle plan, understanding the earth, all those mysteries and things that you're like, man, how did that happen? Like, how did this happen? How does this get created? Like, everything started to be very clear. Like, when
Falling
they say
into place.
Truth will set you free, you will know like what everything is, and how deceiving this world can be. It was so something out of a tragic thing. We still talk about it to this day. It was one of the most, like, the tragic thing of my husband going, and I know that he went with the Lord, because I had another. I'm going to tell you this because this is going to blow your mind. But I know that happening was the change that I needed for the best thing to happen to me, which is understanding God and my life the way it is right now, and what I preach about, the Lord and my experience and this, and then I go back to the book, and I'm like, oh, you carried me there. Oh, well, there was bullets flying around all here. Oh,
And
then
I'm
I
still
couldn't eat.
here.
So and he's like, yeah, that was me, because you're mine. You're not going yet until I say so. And I'm like, okay, God, yeah, I get it. Thank you, thank you. So you start realizing how many times he's there for you that you don't even realize it. Like sometimes, and I want you guys to think sometimes, like, you don't even know. Maybe you're driving a car and you don't even know that he, like, moved the car behind not to hit you. And you're clueless. You go all your life to know that maybe that day would have been the day of a bad accident. So you start
Yeah.
realizing, wow, God is detailed. He's
Like, if you were going to be late for work and then you just don't
Yes.
make it, and then you
Yes. Look at 9/11. Remember when you guys
Yeah.
are watching the movie? How many people were stopped?
Yeah,
I have-
her
right?
grandfather-
I have an uncle. I have an
Yeah.
uncle who was a security guard in one of the towers,
Yeah.
and that day he was late for work. And
Look, I'm getting goosebumps.
yeah,
You
he
just-
was
as
late for
you- as
work,
you-
and as he was rushing, the first tower fell down, and he worked on the second one.
That's insane.
So he said, he told me, he says, I stood there and I looked at the news and I couldn't move
Of course.
because
Paralyzed. Look, I'm getting
had he
goosebumps.
not been late,
Of course.
he would have been in the tower that day.
God is real. He's beautiful. He's very involved. The best thing that I've done is yeah.
My dad's brother.
That's brother.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
beautiful.
No, he was asking me which uncles. I have a lot of uncles.
That's
I'm
good.
trying to
Big
figure
family.
out.
No,
which
you
one.
don't. I don't think you even know him. It's my biological father's side.
Oh.
That's why.
So yeah, it was one of the most beautiful things and it just brought a whole new perspective and understanding. All the things and degrees and knowledge. Now it's complete because now you understand from that, from his word, from understanding who he is and the plans that he has for you and stuff like that. And then the more I've instructed, the more I've been close in fellowship with God. He's told me, like, I need you to, preach the word, preach your testimony, tell people that you were on the opposite spectrum, coming from all these religions, and then, like, this is the truth.
This is
that,
where
like,
you
that
are
sets
now.
you free, because this is what this is, right?
Next thing she tells us is that she had to be transported to Germany, to a school in Germany.
Oh yeah,
No,
imagine. Well, look,
Kid.
my life completely changed. So I changed everything about my life. So again, here we go again.
Changing again.
Changing
Cycle.
again. It's like, okay, completely do it. Everything that I thought in the secular world, in this world, you realize, man, that's totally it's different in God's world, right? And like some of these things, so I'm learning some of the definitions and lies, deception.
I was telling them that every time when we were living in DR, every time I would come and see you.
Yes.
So that one of the last times that I came and see you before we moved back,
Yeah.
I was like, hey, how are you? How are things? How is your husband? And just remember you just looking at me and being like, my husband passed. I'm just like,
What?
huh?
I know. I remember
Yeah,
the
and
day you were
then
like.
I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, but that's how the Lord wanted it. And I'm like, she still manages to have this positive attitude out of everything. And that, to me, that's amazing. To me, that's
Thank you.
amazing because a lot of things in this world will happen where will break you down. Some have stronger wills than others.
For sure. For sure.
But it's beautiful to see a person that's been through so much and
Thank you.
is willing to share her story,
I-
which we very much appreciate that.
If I can inspire anybody, and again, don't get me wrong, I was on my knees and it was rough. Like I thought I wasn't gonna, make it through this pain. But that's when you realize that there's somebody greater, and His grace is beautiful, and His mercy and His strength is beautiful, and through that you can, the famous verse that everybody talks about, right? You can do all things through Christ, who strengthens me. And people misuse that verse all the time, but it's what God put you through. That's something to mold you into what He optimally need to be as a person, right? Like He's designed you. So now He's tweaking you to be that best level of you where you're going to feel more fulfilled, not because the way you want it to be, but the way you were designed to be. So it's been a beautiful journey. I've seen changes. So here's a miracle for you. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. My mom, who was a Muslim for a long time, is actually talking about Jesus. Is actually 74 years of Quran praying. Her whole family went to Mecca, and it's no doing of us, it's God doing. Like those are the things and miracles that you're like, nobody like hello, a stubborn woman, right? Or just different things. And I want to tell you the story because you're gonna love this story. My husband actually passed away in my arms. I was there. He got placed off of the ventilator and on oxygen, and just he couldn't make it. But he flatlined, so his heart stopped and he stopped breathing. And I stood there by him, and I'm like, you know, I'm crying, but I'm like, I need you to know, I need you to tell me that you're okay, that you're with the Lord. I need you, and mind you, he's unconscious, like he's not. And by the way, sorry, I totally skipped this. So what God told me, my husband did wake up from the intubation. They didn't know how he survived. He was on oxygen. The doctors were like,
How?
it's a Lazarus man. Lazarus that's got, you know, like it was a scientific miracle. You can read about it. It's in, you know, doctors, hospital. They were like, everybody around him in those units did go. I watched one person after the other go, and their family members as I'm, you know, consoling them. And so what God told me that I was going to have him for a little bit. So we had him for 3 months. Nobody
Wow.
knows.
I was thinking you were going to say like a day or two.
No, we had him for 3 months. He actually
Wow.
started recuperating. We actually were able to kind of gather together. She was able to see him, the kids. We were able to, like, you know, it was hard because he had the, you know, the thing, and, you know, like in the oxygen, it was, you know, he was in a terrible state. He looked, you know, like a skeleton, and, you know, like a, you know, 150-year-old man, you know. But we were able to talk about certain things, you know, like kind of talk about God, you know, like just kind of have those goodbyes, those last times, just like God told me. And I am sitting here and tell you, and I can show you reports of his medical records.
Nobody knows.
That man did not have lungs. So lungs, and give you a little biology, like lungs have, you know, there's this tissue, and then they have these little things called alveolas, which is, those are the things when the oxygen comes in, they go through that, and those little things convert the oxygen to go into your bloodstream, right? So if you don't have those things, which he didn't have, most of them, he had like maybe like one or something, you can put all the air you want in it. If the air is not going into your bloodstream, it doesn't do any good. So they were baffled. I mean, we had like the president of Baptist coming in and going, I don't know how he's alive.
Medical mystery.
And I'm like, that's how. I've been told I was going to have him for a while, but I've been also told for a while, because there's a bigger picture. So how can I not share the story for him? How can I not share the story that God has a plan for me, for something, to share this, to help people to understand the truth, to you know, share in his miracles and glories. And to go back to the story that she's going to also blow you away, another miracle. As I was holding him, he flatlined, right? And I was like, oh, you got to tell me that you're, please, like, give me a sign, something. Like, I couldn't peel myself off of him. Even the nurses are like, you know, Maita, you know, it's time. After 5 minutes, he comes back to life. There was no resuscitation, because he's, you know, the DNR was signed, like, you know. And he comes back to life. And that moment, I had another God moment where it was like this golden bubble thing. He was asleep, his body was. But I felt him, I heard him, or, you know, the angel, right? Or the angels, he's like, I am with...
She's glowing right now.
I am like he's like, I'm okay, I'm with the Lord. Everything's gonna be okay. You're exactly where you need to be. And I started crying in relief. I'm like, oh my God, like laughing and crying.
I would have fainted right there.
Saying
stronger than
everybody's like, he came back to life. This is all recorded. Like, you know, witnesses are there. Like, and I was like, okay. And that's when he takes his last breath. And I felt like I was in clouds, and I felt that, like, so they don't know how he came back to life. It was just me and his dad in the room. All the doctors are, you know, just watching from outside, because there's, you know, we were kind of waiting for him to go.
Did the doctors even say, like, time of death 1324, and they wrote it on?
Great question. They changed it. Yes, they changed it.
They changed all the records.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's a great question. Yeah, you're probably going to be an engineer or a math guy. You're like super detailed. I love it.
I'm good at math.
Yeah, see, I know. You're very detailed with that. That's fantastic. You're more like artistic, right? Or like, you know, or just more like philosophical. Yeah?
I'm just more Emma. Like, I don't know.
I'm just more Emma.
I love Emma. That's beautiful. So yes, they did have to change it, my love, because he came back to life. That's a great question. They actually had to change it to like, no, actually, it was miracles after miracles. So I'm like, of course I have to talk about God. I have to talk about Jesus. I have to talk about miracles. I have to talk about what God has for each one of you. Like how incredibly detailed he is, how much he wants to get to know you, how much you should know him to live a beautiful life, to have this glow, to have this thirst.
Like God controls everything.
Everything.
So if you fail a test, that was God. That
Yes, to
made
teach
fail
you
that
this.
test. So it wasn't my fault. It was God saying, okay, this test, it wasn't meant for you. You failed it.
No, for sure. But then if you fail a couple more,
And then
he'll
you're
be
gonna repeat the course.
Bro, exactly. So God does the same thing. Trust me. He disciplines, he loves, he does. I'm quoting the Bible. He disciplined the ones he loves. God goes like, oh really? Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is what we're gonna do.
What
for
my
you too.
mom was about to
Yeah.
say is that we've been watching this show called The Resident and Grey's Anatomy. That's why I said like
She loves
13
Grey's Anatomy. Loves Grey's
That's
I've
why
only
I
seen
said-
Grey's
that's why I
Anatomy
said
5 times, so
1324.
now we're watching it again.
Like they take off their gloves and they're like time of death 1324.
We watch it all the time. Sometimes we watch it and we're like, ugh, it hits it. But for the most part, we follow the drama of all the interns.
drama. Yeah.
I keep bending and going for the drink.
So just keep it there.
So that's kind of in a nutshell. Thank you for letting me share.
I think that I'm gonna have a lot of questions for the next few days.
Let's do it. Listen,
I'll
I'll take him.
I'm gonna have you on speed dial.
Guys,
Because
call
I
me.
know
I
I'll
would
have a
love
lot of
to.
questions.
Whatever,
Because this
Come
was
over.
truly a beautiful story. And me having read the book, and having known you for the years that I've known
Yes.
you, I'm very, very grateful that you're here with us today, sharing the
course.
story with the kids and with our viewers and our listeners,
course.
and just keep on being that awesome light that you are. To everybody that knows you, I know. And listen, everybody who watches this, do me a favor and put a comment down there and tell me that I'm wrong, because I know
so
for a
sweet.
fact how many comments I'm gonna have.
Hi, you're so sweet.
And
Thank
also
you.
do me a favor and like the video that my mom said that she'd give me a dog if it got 100 likes.
We said 10,000.
Oh no.
Don't try to trick me.
Oh, I forgot.
I'm definitely gonna get the book. And I'm gonna read it.
Yes, I have the
You know
book.
what? Let me know, please, what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts.
I can't wait to see
questions.
them. Wait, Mom, one more page. I can't wait to see them.
It's a like honestly like a fun like it's a good like
It
it's a
is.
thriller, like it's
And
it's lovely.
you can physically see, like in your mind, little Maya. You can
Yes.
see her. You can see her being scared, you can
while she
picture
was-
it.
While she was telling me this story, I imagined a little girl.
Imagine when you read it.
That's so
a
cool.
little
I'm so
girl-
glad you did. That's
a little
me.
girl in the basement all alone, and then
Yes.
when she got to the part about the candles, I imagined her with candles around her.
That's
Yeah.
how it is.
With
That's
the
how good of a
wand.
writer she is.
I've read books that they detail like every single part of where you go, right? So there was this one room where they detailed a roof with a window in the middle, with one window and a bed on the side, and I pictured it. And when I watched the movie, it was the same exact thing I
That's
pictured.
so
That's,
crazy.
really?
You should make the
That's the
movie.
beauty of reading. It's the beauty of reading.
It is. I think it's wonderful, and sharing stories.
You know, she
and-
could play Mini You.
She could. She could.
Well,
for sure.
taller mini you.
Well, now she's a little too tall. I'm like, you're super past it. And everybody's like, wait a minute, weren't you brown hair and brown eyes? Like
What happened?
I still have one more question though.
yes.
You said that you had 3 children.
Yes. So from my husband that I married, remember
his first
his
two
first
children.
marriage.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Those are my babies too. And I know them since they were young. So they were 10 and 7, 9 and 6, something like that. So they were young and kind of went through it, raised them. Now they're 31 and 28. Yeah. So they're older, and I'm a grandma too.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and I'm a grandma too. So there's a 2-year-old boy, my
Aw.
grandson.
Little baby.
Aww.
All right, Maya. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming today.
No,
thank you for
guys.
sharing your story.
So grateful. Thank you
And
so much.
we will let you know when
When
we read the book.
And you will let us know when you're ready to make the movie.
Yes.
We're gonna find out.
Guys, let me
Hello,
know.
guys. Connections, movies.
Please, there will be
series, Hollywood.
fantastic.
Michael.
Yes.
I'm
yeah.
definitely gonna be in the movie.
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna be somewhere there. I'm gonna be the person
Yes.
in España.
I'll-
Hola, ¿cómo estás hoy?
There you go.
No, I'm gonna be one of the students in the classroom that
There you
speaks
go.
that
Perfect.
that English or something. And
There you go.
And I'm gonna be like, no, I don't actually know what I'm gonna be like.
Well, we'll talk about that when you read the book.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you
so much. Appreciate
and
you.
we will see you next time, guys.
Yes.
Bye.